Have you ever looked at a picture at Stonehenge and just thought, wow, how did they do that? These massive stones, standing silent on the Salisbury Plain in England, have baffled experts for centuries. We're talking about a structure built around 5,000 years ago, long before the invention of wheels or complex machinery. So, who were these mysterious builders? And how on earth did they pull off one of history's greatest engineering feats? Let's break down the mystery. Stonehenge is made of two main types of stones. The larger ones are called sarsens, and they weigh about 25 tons each. That's like lifting 4 adult elephants. These behemoths were sourced from a place called the Marlborough Downs, which is about 20 miles away from the site. Then there are the smaller bluestones, which are still incredibly heavy at around 2 to 5 tons each. The really crazy part, geologists have traced these bluestones all the way to the Preseli Hills in Wales, over 150 miles away. So the big question is, how did they transport these gigantic rocks? For the sarsens, the most popular theory involves using a combination of sledges and rollers. Imagine a massive wooden sledge, kind of like a giant toboggan, with a stone tied on top. Then, teams of people would lay down a path of log rollers in front of the sledge. As they pulled the sledge forward with ropes made from plant fibers or leather, the rollers would turn underneath it. Once a roller came out the back, someone would run it to the front to keep the path going. It sounds simple, but it would have required incredible coordination and hundreds, maybe even thousands of people pulling together. Think about the sheer manpower needed for that, all working in unison. It's a testament to their social organization and determination. But what about the bluestones from 150 miles away? Moving them over land the entire way would have been an almost impossible task. This is where another fascinating theory comes in. Archaeologists believe the builders might have used a combination of land and water transport. They could have dragged the bluestones on sledges from the quarries in Wales down to the coast. From there, they might have loaded them onto massive rafts. These rafts would have then navigated the Bristol Channel and followed rivers, like the River Avon, to get as close as possible to the final site. The last leg of the journey would have again been overland, using the same sledge and roller technique. This theory suggests a deep understanding of geography, tides, and currents. Once the stones arrived, another challenge began: how to get them upright. This likely involved digging a large pit with one sloping side. The team would slide the base of the stone down the slope and into the pit. Then, using long wooden levers and sheer muscle power, they would slowly hoist the stone into a vertical position, packing the pit with smaller rocks and rubble to secure it. And what about the lintels, those horizontal stones that sit on top? They'd probably built massive timber platforms or earthen ramps to slowly drag or lever the lintels into place. It was a slow, painstaking process that could have taken years, even decades, to complete for each section. So who were these incredible people? For a long time, their identity was a complete mystery. But modern archaeology is starting to give us some clues. We now believe the builders were Neolithic farming communities. Excavations near Stonehenge have uncovered remains of settlements, tools made from flint and deer antlers, and even the graves of the people who lived and worked there. Analysis of their teeth suggests that some of them came from as far away as Wales, possibly following the stones on their long journey. These weren't just random laborers. They were skilled craftspeople and engineers who were part of a highly organized society. Stonehenge was likely a sacred place, a temple for sun worship, a celestial calendar, or a burial ground for royalty and important figures. Building it was a communal effort, a project that united people across vast distances. The next time you see Stonehenge, don't just see a pile of rocks. See the ingenuity, the strength, and the spirit of thousands of people working together to create something that would last for millennia. They didn't have our technology, but they had incredible knowledge of their environment and an unbreakable will. The full story may still be hidden in the mists of time, but every new discovery brings us a little closer to understanding the brilliant minds behind this prehistoric masterpiece. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey back in time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more historical mysteries. Have you ever wondered where money comes from? Not just the paper in your wallet, but the very idea of it? Today, we're diving into the story of a lost kingdom that changed the world forever by inventing currency. This is the incredible tale of Lydia. Imagine a world without coins or cash. To get what you needed, you had to trade. Maybe you'd swap a few chickens for a bag of wheat, or your pottery for some new tools. This system, called bartering, worked, but it wasn't easy. What if the person with the wheat didn't want your chickens? It was complicated. Now, let's travel back almost 3,000 years to a region in modern-day Turkey. Here, a powerful and wealthy kingdom called Lydia was rising. The Lydians were sitting on a gold mine, literally. The river Pactolus, which flowed through their capital city, Sardis, was rich with a natural alloy of gold and silver called electrum. The Lydians were clever. They saw the problems with bartering and realized this shiny metal could be the solution. Around the 7th century BC, under a king named Aluatus, they started producing small, standardized lumps of electrum. To guarantee their weight and value, they stamped each piece with an official seal, often a lion's head, which was the symbol of their royal family. And just like that, the first coins were born. This was a revolutionary idea. Suddenly, trade became incredibly simple. These Lydian coins had a fixed value. They were easy to carry, and everyone accepted them. Commerce exploded. Lydia became a major economic power, a hub of trade connecting the East and the West. Their markets bustled with merchants from Greece, Persia, and beyond, all eagerly using this new invention, money. Lydia's wealth became legendary. The most famous Lydian king was Croesus, the son of Aluatus. His name became synonymous with unimaginable riches. You might have even heard the phrase, "as rich as Croesus." He continued to refine the minting process, creating the first separate gold and silver coins, setting a new standard for purity and value that would be copied for centuries. But as with all great empires, Lydia's golden age couldn't last forever. Their powerful neighbor to the east, the Persian Empire, was growing under the ambitious Cyrus the Great. King Croesus, feeling threatened, consulted the famous oracle at Delphi. The oracle gave him a cryptic prophecy. If you cross the river Halys, you will destroy a great empire. Confident this meant he would defeat the Persians, Croesus led his army across the river and attacked. But the prophecy had a double meaning. The great empire he destroyed was his own. The Lydian army was defeated, Sardis was captured, and the Kingdom of Lydia was absorbed into the Persian Empire around 546 BC. And just like that, the civilization that gave the world money vanished from the map. But their legacy is in our pockets and our bank accounts every single day. The concept of coinage spread like wildfire, from the Persians to the Greeks, then to the Romans, and eventually across the entire globe. So the next time you use a coin or a bill, take a moment to remember the ancient kingdom of Lydia. They were more than just a forgotten empire. They were the architects of the modern economy. Their story is a powerful reminder that even the most revolutionary ideas can come from places lost to time. Thanks for joining us on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next historical deep dive. See you in the next video. Have you ever heard the story of the Tower of Babel? A tale of a giant tower built by humanity in a united effort to reach the heavens. It's a story most of us know from religious texts, but what if there's more to it? What if this wasn't just a myth, but a distorted memory of a real, forgotten megastructure from our ancient past? Let's dive into one of history's most fascinating mysteries. The story, as it's often told, comes from the book of Genesis. After the Great Flood, a united humanity, all speaking one language, migrated to the land of Shinar. There, they decided to build a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven. The goal was to make a name for themselves and avoid being scattered across the world. But this act of hubris angered God, who then confused their languages and scattered them across the earth, leaving the tower unfinished. For centuries, this was seen purely as a cautionary tale about human pride. But modern archaeology and historical research have started to paint a more complex picture. Could the Tower of Babel have been a real structure? Many scholars now believe the story was inspired by the ziggurats of ancient Mesopotamia, specifically in the region of Shinar, which we now know as Sumer in southern Iraq. Ziggurats were massive stepped temple towers built by ancient civilizations like the Sumerians, Akkadians, and Babylonians. They were not just buildings. They were religious centers, believed to be the dwelling places of the gods on earth. The most famous of these was the Itaminanki in Babylon, which translates to Temple of the Foundation of Heaven and Earth. Sound familiar? The Itaminanki was dedicated to Marduk, the patron god of Babylon. It was a colossal structure, possibly reaching up to 91 meters or 300 feet high, with a square base of the same dimensions. Imagine seeing that in the ancient world. It would have been an absolutely breathtaking sight, truly seeming to touch the sky. Historical records, including those from the Babylonian king Nabopolassar, describe its reconstruction in the 7th century BCE. He even called it the Tower of Babylon. So, could this be our Tower of Babel? The timeline fits surprisingly well. The biblical account was likely written during the Babylonian captivity of the Jews in the 6th century BCE. The Jewish people would have seen the magnificent and perhaps intimidating Itaminanki firsthand. Its sheer scale and the multitude of languages spoken in the cosmopolitan city of Babylon could easily have inspired the story of the tower and the confusion of tongues. The ziggurat, as periodic destruction and rebuilding, could also explain the unfinished aspect of the biblical tower. But the story goes deeper. The idea of a single universal language is also intriguing. Linguists call this concept a proto-world language, a hypothetical common ancestor of all human languages. While it's a highly debated topic, some researchers believe that such a language could have existed tens of thousands of years ago. The story of Babel could be a distant, allegorical memory of a time when human societies were smaller and more linguistically unified, before migration and time created the diversity of languages we see today. So, was the Tower of Babel a real historical building? The evidence strongly suggests it was inspired by, if not a direct account of, the great ziggurat of Babylon, the Itaminanki. It wasn't a tower to physically reach the heavens, but a spiritual one, a man-made mountain meant to connect the earth with the divine. The story isn't just a myth. It's a fascinating blend of history, cultural memory, and moral lesson. It tells of a real place, a real empire, and the awe it inspired in those who saw it. It's a reminder that sometimes the most enduring legends are rooted in forgotten truths, waiting to be rediscovered. What do you think? Was the Tower of Babel a real megastructure? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to like and subscribe for more historical mysteries. See you next time. Did you know there are pyramids in Indonesia, possibly older than anything in Egypt or Mesopotamia? Forget what you learned in history class, because we're diving deep into a mystery that could rewrite our entire understanding of ancient civilization. Welcome to Gunung Padang, a site nestled in the lush jungles of West Java. On the surface, it looks like a hill covered in ancient stone terraces, a place of worship for locals for centuries. But what lies beneath is truly mind-boggling. For years, geologist Dr. Danny Hillman Nadawi Shah has led a team of researchers using ground-penetrating radar, core drilling, and seismic tomography to peel back the layers of this mysterious hill. What they found is astonishing. Gunung Padang isn't a natural hill at all. It's a man-made pyramid built up over millennia in multiple stages. The deepest layers, buried nearly 100 feet down, have been radiocarbon dated to an incredible 25,000 BC. Let that sink in. That's over 20,000 years before the Great Pyramid of Giza, pushing back the timeline of advanced construction into the last ice age. Imagine a sophisticated civilization, thriving during a time we've always been told was populated only by primitive hunter-gatherers. The evidence at Gunung Padang suggests just that. The core samples revealed chambers and cavities hidden deep within the structure. What could they be? Tombs? Storage rooms? Sacred spaces? The construction itself is a marvel. The builders used a type of natural cement, a mortar made of clay and iron, to bind the columnar basalt rocks together, showing a remarkable understanding of geology and engineering. This wasn't some crude pile of rocks. It was a carefully planned and executed architectural feat. So who were these master builders? The mainstream archaeological community has been skeptical, to say the least. The idea of a highly advanced civilization existing so long ago challenges everything we thought we knew. The prevailing theory is that the dates are wrong, or that the samples were contaminated. But Dr. Nadawijah and his team stand by their findings, arguing that we are looking at the remnants of a long-lost culture, a true Atlantis of the East, swallowed by time and jungle. This discovery isn't just about one pyramid. It opens up a world of possibilities. Could other ancient hills across Indonesia and Southeast Asia also be hiding similar secrets? Are we on the verge of uncovering a global, connected civilization from the distant past? The implications are huge. It forces us to ask, what else don't we know about our own history? The story of Gunung Padang is far from over. Excavation is slow and difficult, and many questions remain unanswered. But one thing is clear: the jungles of Indonesia hold secrets that could forever change the story of humanity. What do you think? Is Gunung Padang proof of a lost Ice Age civilization? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you love exploring ancient mysteries, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the unknown. See you next time. For thousands of years, the story of the Trojan War was just that, a story. A grand epic poem written by Homer, filled with heroes like Achilles and Hector, a giant wooden horse, and the beautiful Helen, whose face launched 1,000 ships. For centuries, people believed Troy was a mythical place, a figment of a poet's imagination. But what if I told you that this legendary city wasn't just a myth? What if the city that Homer wrote about was real? Today, we're journeying back in time to uncover how the lost city of Troy was rediscovered, proving that sometimes legends have a basis in reality. The man at the center of this incredible discovery was a German businessman named Heinrich Schliemann. As a child, he was captivated by Homer's Iliad and became obsessed with the idea that Troy was a real physical place waiting to be found. Everyone thought he was crazy. Scholars and historians of his time dismissed the Trojan War as pure fiction. But Schliemann's passion was unshakable. He dedicated his life and his vast fortune to a single goal: to find the lost city of Troy. In the 1870s, guided by the geographical clues in Homer's epic, Schliemann traveled to modern-day Turkey. He focused his search on a large hill known as Hisarlik. It matched Homer's descriptions: a windswept plain close to the sea with 2 rivers nearby. The locals had long found ancient pottery shards and relics there, but no one had ever undertaken a serious excavation. Schliemann believed this was it. He hired a team of workers and started digging, driven by a conviction that bordered on obsession. His methods were controversial. He wasn't a trained archaeologist, and in his haste, he used dynamite, blasting through layers of history. This caused a lot of damage, and modern archaeologists criticize his destructive approach. But despite his crude techniques, he made a groundbreaking discovery. As he dug deeper, he didn't just find one city. He found several cities built one on top of the other, like a giant layer cake of history. This was common in the ancient world. When a city was destroyed, a new one was simply built on its ruins. Schliemann identified 9 main layers, which he labeled Troy I through Troy X. He initially believed that the second layer from the bottom, which he called Troy II, was the city of King Priam from Homer's tale. It was here that he uncovered a spectacular collection of gold and silver artifacts, which he famously named Priam's treasure. He smuggled it out of the country, believing he had found the jewels of Helen herself. The world was stunned. The myth was becoming real. However, we now know Schliemann was mistaken. Later archaeologists, using more scientific methods, determined that Troy II was actually 1,000 years too old to be the Troy of the Trojan War. The layer that most closely matches the time frame of Homer's epic around 1250 BC is actually Troy Via. And what did they find in this layer? Evidence of a city that was violently destroyed by fire, with arrowheads found in the streets and skeletons left where they fell. It was a city that had clearly suffered a devastating war. So while we haven't found a giant wooden horse or the tomb of Achilles, the archaeological evidence strongly suggests that a real city in the right location was destroyed by war at the right time. The city of Troy, once thought to be a mere legend, is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It stands as a powerful testament to how ancient myths can contain kernels of historical truth, waiting for someone bold enough to look for them. Schliemann may have been a controversial figure, but his unwavering belief turned a timeless myth into tangible history. Thanks for joining me on this incredible journey to uncover the truth behind the legend of Troy. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more historical deep dives. See you next time.